On another plus ultra episode of the Animation Deliberation podcast. It is finally Anime October. We're covering My Hero, but we got plenty to talk about. All that and more right after this ad we have no control over.
Sing along if you know the words. A 1, 2, 3, it's time for Animation Deliberation. A conversation and a celebration of our favorite action animated series. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of Animation Deliberation, the podcast where we take action, animation, and cartoons seriously, but not too seriously. We are your Z Fighters, we are your Team 7, we are your Class 1A, whatever you want to call us, we are your hosts. I am Zuhair Ali.
I'm J Scotty St. Quirk.
And I am Andrew Rogers.
You know, as we know, a lot of anime openers have like a nice punk rock metal tone to it. I feel like Scoots is in the zone and that kind of rubbed off in the opener. I love the twist that you added to it today, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that you noticed that. I had to bring the energy.
I got the jitters going today. Andrew, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. It's anime time. I mean, you talk about the openers, and I want to have time where we have enough of, a gap in our schedule that we could just talk about the best anime openers, because there's so many good ones, and I'm so excited for everything upcoming because there's also music to talk about in some of these shows, so I'm ready.
So we do have a lot of anime to cover in October alone, but quick news for stuff that's coming out next year. Jujutsu Kaisen is teasing the hell out of us. They have confirmed that season 2 is going to be 2 arcs and a trailer is coming soon, but it is confirmed for early 2023. Same goes for Attack on Titan. That part is confirmed for early 2023. Still don't have dates yet, but social media is at least active in keeping us in the loop on these things. Oh, and Jujutsu Kaisen 0 is finally available on Crunchyroll, which is super frustrating because I would rather just buy the movie, but they're greedy, and they have every right to be, because that movie is fantastic, and it's making oodles of money.
I'm just saying, buy the Crunchyroll subscription. It's that easy. It's all there. It's a library of just anime everywhere.
But it's just one more thing. I'd rather just buy a movie for $20 and be done with it.
You got to get that recurring monthly revenue. That's how you get more anime.
Guess. Alright, so for all the anime that is coming out in October, there's a new segment that we are going to be testing the waters with. Because literally every day of the week in October, there is a new show coming out or a continuation of a show starting. We can't cover all of them. We can't even watch all of them. But there are a select few that we are interested in. So, our expression of these anime is based on you, the listeners. What we offer is that every week we're going to be doing an episode of My Hero Academia to cover. And because we love it, why wouldn't we isolate that? What we're going to do is we're going to start off each episode giving 1 minute each to talk about one of the shows that come out during the week before we do our My Hero coverage. So currently on this list, we have Spy Family, The New Gundam Wing, Blue Lock, Chainsaw Man, and Mob Psycho. So if there's recommendations that you guys have for things that we should be watching, or you want to hear more of it, like maybe an arc breakdown or a season breakdown, we are trusting you to email us, hit us up on the socials. There's plenty of ways to contact us, but we want to talk to you. We want to know what animes you're excited about, and we want to make sure that we're giving you the best coverage possible on all of them. Anything you guys like to add to that?
Yeah, I'm just going to add in the thing of those are just the animes we've talked about covering. I already have 2 or 3 more on my list that I will be watching in October, but
oh, good lord,
I don't think we're actually going to cover. One of them is Akiba Maid War. I don't think that's actually going to be something that we want to cover, but it's supposed to be a maid comedy action thing. So I'm okay, I'm going to have to give this a shot and see what happens. I've talked about Haikyuu, the volleyball anime. They're coming back for another season in October. So there will be other things that we're watching. So again, don't hesitate to reach out if you do want to hear more about something, even if we don't talk about it at the beginning of the episode. Because in my 1 minute spiel, I'm not going to have enough time to talk about 5 shows at once.
Totally fair. I have 2 quick things. First, I want to provide a quick caveat This whole watching anime weekly is kind of a new novel concept to me that's kind of born out of this podcast. I do
Right.
enjoy anime, but I have definitely deferred to the recommendations of my co-host. I think, back when Toonami was a big thing when I was like in the 4th and 5th grade, I watched, anime weekly back then when it was like Sailor Moon, the Dragon Ball Z saga, oddly enough, Hamtaro. And then I had a brief period where I watched, Hamtaro. I watched Space Dandy when it was coming out weekly on Adult Swim just because I enjoyed that one so much. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this experience, and hopefully, as we cover this My Hero Academia and other animes on this podcast, that'll become more of a weekly ritual for me. The other quick thing is it didn't come up at all because it doesn't release weekly. They dropped all the episodes all at once. But September 13th saw the release of Cyberpunk Edge Runners on Netflix, and I'm about halfway through that and really enjoying it. So just a quick call to action. If there's anybody that's listening that has been enjoying that show and wants to send me feedback specifically or drop some to the show, I'd be happy to give my quick thoughts on that, and maybe we could start a dialogue there.
Yeah, I heard someone say Cyberpunk came out, and I was like, yeah, the video game came out a while ago. And then they were like, no, something this month. So I'm glad to finally find out what that actually was. How long is that on Netflix?
It's 10 episodes, and I believe from what I've gathered, it's a standalone story. So I don't know if I'm like I said, I'm only halfway through. I don't know if there will be a second season or any kind of continuation, but I'm definitely enjoying what I've seen thus far. Not having played the video game either, mind you.
I remember you expressing your excitement for that earlier this year, and then it totally slipped my radar.
Yeah.
We'll have to add that to the segment list next week.
Woohoo!
Yeah, anime definitely is built for weekly coverage with how much they do their recaps and cliffhangers and all that stuff. That's kind of what makes it a little difficult to binge because of the acclaimed 27 minutes. Only 14 of it is like watchable content, if that. I think I'm being generous with that number. And I say that because I've been doing my Hero rewatch. It's like, I literally just watched the episode 10 seconds ago. Like, skip all this nonsense. Like, we have actual stuff to get to. And part of that can be frustrating, which is why, for anime specifically, because like you said, from the Toonami days or the WB Kids day of waking up at Saturday morning to watch Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Jackie Chan, things of that sort. It was definitely worth it in making sure that you caught it because that's all you got of it that week. There was no option to get it back.
Yeah, no streaming services, no DVRs. We're talking about a bygone era here, folks.
And begging for Blockbuster trips.
That too.
Gosh, yes.
So you mentioned Cyberpunk already. So before we move on to My Hero talk, is there anything else that you guys are watching that you'd like to share?
I will jump in. I've mentioned Parallel World Pharmacy. That anime just finished. It was this past week, so all 12 episodes are out now if you are a binge person. It was super fun, super wholesome, a tiny bit of action, and it wasn't anything groundbreaking in anime, but was so much fun. And then I have decided to take the plunge into Black Clover. I know that is a pretty big one for a friend of ours, BVK. I heard he was a fan, so I was like, okay, I'll trust him and go for this one. It's been a ton of fun and is inching toward the Mount Rushmore very quickly. So,
oh wow,
if that does come back, I think it's rumored possibly like 2024 in Japan, possibly later in the US will be when it comes. Maybe way off. We'll start talking about it then. But I have hammered through like 50 episodes in 2 weeks. It's just been nonstop after work.
Nice.
And then I go to the movies all the time. So I'm seeing more and more and more movies. But nothing has been good to talk about.
Got my tickets for Black Adam today.
Oh,
those
yeah,
came
I saw
out?
that those were available, yeah.
Full episode so quick.
Yeah. You guys can keep talking. I'm just going to go to the AMC app here quick and get the Dolby tickets.
Yeah. I don't want to veer away from anime too much, but I guess it is worth mentioning that, of course, I'm watching She-Hulk weekly, as well as the start of Andor, loving both series so far. And then I did mention I've been doing my rewatch of Samurai Jack, which is just always a delight. And then I think I mentioned it a few weeks back, but I have been watching Tokyo Revengers on HBO Max as well. And I hear that one's supposed to get a second season sooner rather than later, and definitely recommend that one as well.
Remind me what that one is, like the premise of it.
So it's about a 26-year-old kind of disaffected guy that's not really happy with the way his life turned out. So he has a near-death experience that actually sends him back to the past when he's in middle school. So he's like basically trying to. I know you're kind of done with time travel, but it's still kind of cool. He like goes back to the past to try and affect his future, and it's very much about like the biker gangs of the mid 2000s in Japan, which I guess was a thing, or it's very heightened in this particular scenario. It's cool. Very well done across the board.
Anarchy.
Ish.
Nice. For me, same Andor, She-Hulk. Man, was Andor such a slow start. That was rough watching 3 episodes together.
I broke it up, but yeah.
Yeah. I tried, but I had to. I couldn't stay awake. So those Disney shows are doing great. House of Dragons has been super fun. And, of course, football. I finally finished Fire Force. I finally finished Rising of the Shield Hero. Fire Force has some interesting stuff going on. That cliffhanger actually had me screaming. Because it dropped a nugget that potentially ties it to a show that ended like 10 years ago. Like a totally unrelated show.
Whoa.
Because it's the same creator. And I was like, I went through so many rabbit holes of trying to find out like how all this could tie together, and if it was just a tease or if it's something that's happening or what the hell is going on. But yeah,
they pulled in M. Night Shyamalan, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, they really did. It was wild. I think that's it for the stuff I'm watching.
Cool.
Yeah, Black Clover and Hunter x Hunter are coming up on my list since I'm done with those binges now. But we have so much stuff to talk about on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and before we jump into My Hero, there was one of the shows on the weekly basis. I talked about music, and I just have to kind of give that news note to everyone. If you guys didn't hear, expect I'm going to say every single week, at least one of my minutes is going to be dedicated just to the closing song of Chainsaw Man. If you guys didn't see the news, Chainsaw Man is releasing all 12 episodes with 12 different closing songs from 12 different artists. So, cool. I mean, one of my favorite things about anime is how amazing all of these artists make their song, because they usually only get like 12 episodes. That's it. They know they have to rock it for those 12 episodes. The pressure's on if they only have one episode to be better than everyone around them. So I'm expecting every one of these bands to just knock it out of the park. So if you guys didn't know that was happening, definitely get excited for that with me. Even if you don't watch the show, I'm sure it's going to be good music to talk about. So
I'm here for good music.
It is.
All right. Now for the Plus Ultra talk. This rewatch, as every rewatch I've had of the show, has been phenomenal. It was nice being able to watch season 4 and 5 dubbed, because I actually enjoyed the dub for this show. There's a couple characters where it's like, oh, now that I have a comparison, that's a little weird. But overall, just so well done. This show does not fail to bring tears to my eyes, whether it's out of upliftment or out of sadness. It is just so good. It's so wholesome. The level of character development for people that you never thought that you would care about. Everybody's involved and important in some way or another. This show is truly incredible. And while I feel season 5 was the slowest of them all, it is building for just some bat crazy stuff that's going to be happening in the next one. To be clear, I don't think any of us read the manga, so all of the reactions that you'll be hearing from us over the next few weeks will be genuine, not knowing that this happened, unless somebody spoils it. Please do not spoil it for us. I pulled both of you and BVK into the show. Did I overhype it? What do you guys think of it?
I'll start. Yeah, not at all. We talk about this like Mount Rushmore of animes, and it's totally got a place on that mountain for me. It's such a great show. I remember when I first started watching it, it was not this most recent summer, but the summer before. and I was consuming it so voraciously, I kind of had to check myself. I was like, uh-oh, I'm not going to have any new episodes if I continue at this pace. But the show just, it's so bingeable the way every episode ends on like just a cliffhanger and wanting you to begging you to keep watching. But yeah, the show is receives the highest marks all across the board. You mentioned the character development, but the fact, like, the sheer number of characters that you have, and I'll provide this caveat, there are so many characters that I have no doubt forgotten some of their names, but when you're in the thick of the show, like, being able to spout off every single character's name, even like the background characters, and caring about them and having some idea about them is a real testament to this story and the level of endearment that you experience. But beyond that, I love the imagination and the concept of the show. It was kind of like born of this like superhero craze that we're still kind of in right now, that, you know, between the DC movies and the Marvel movies, and obviously the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, it was just such a perfect time for a show just like this. And the imagination when it comes to the powers, the costumes, it's like there are so many heroes already and so many powers. How can you come up with anything new and, you know, indelible and iconic? And the show never ceases to do that. So I love this show. I love the characters. Special shout out to Sui. She's one of my favorites. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a phenomenal show, and I'm really excited that we get the chance to discuss it in such depth.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have said it better yourself. We look at, like, Marvel had Eternals, DC had the Justice League movie. Of, like, the biggest complaint was, how am I supposed to understand and fall in love with 5, 6, 7, 8 characters over the course of a movie? You have an entire class of, 24 students plus class B plus the main heroes, and you care about and know every single one of them by the end of the first season. You are so invested so quickly. Like, Black Clover has been great, but it took me like an arc or two to really get into it. My Hero, when Zuhair recommended it to me, I started the first like 2 or 3 episodes and I was in. I remember, and slight spoilers if you haven't seen the first couple episodes, but I'm going to say, when you have
spoiler
that...
alert for the whole show, and
yeah,
for all the
spoiler
movies
alert for
from
the
here
whole
on out.
show. When Midoriya, and forgive me if I pronounce any of the names wrong, I have done it all in sub, so I'm going off of Japanese that I can barely understand. So yeah, Midoriya, when he found out he didn't have powers and he's like crying to his mother, it's like the second episode, and I was in tears. It was just full blown, I care about this kid so much. I know he's going to find power somewhere, but how, but why? It's just, they hit you immediately, and I was so in from that point onward. There are few other shows, if any, that got me so quickly and have had me as emotionally invested. Like, you did not overhype it at all, Zuhair, to answer your question that you posed at the beginning of this. It's just everything I could have wanted and more when it comes to superhero stuff. Like, they completely outdo anything I've seen.
I always tell people that if they try to get it, well, when I'm trying to get them into the show, if they can't get past the first 2 episodes, I'm not going to push too much. Because those 2 episodes alone just have so much grit and emotion and drive. Like, to know that we have this number 1 superhero from around the world and find such a huge flaw in him right off the bat. That is one of the most incredible things, is they give everybody superpowers, but everybody has a flaw that can be taken advantage of at some way. Whether it be from their classmates, whether it be from the villains, whether it be from their enemies, whether it be from themselves. And that's such a genius thing, and takes, like J Scotty said, a huge level of imagination. And a big part of the emotion is something that both of you are very fond of, is the music. Like, everything about it is just so frequently used. I didn't realize how much like war drums were used, like during the class stuff. All of it is just, it's so fascinating and so encapsulating. We were talking to Joy about that too. Like, there's times where it's like I need upliftment, and I just play the My Hero music. Do 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 do. Like, how does that not just give you energy to like be the best version of yourself? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you talk about the flaws and the way they've developed these characters, and I think it goes more into their powers, that they've somehow so perfectly designed every single one of these to be a stretch of the imagination that I could never see in a live action show, but still be grounded in reality, make sense. They've explained it enough that I never really have more questions about how it is happening or why it's happening. It just all goes so beautifully together, and it doesn't ever feel like they're talking down to you, being like, oh, we have to explain this because you're not going to understand otherwise. It's like, no, they are explaining it to really get things going and really get you even more involved in, okay, what is the next step of these powers? Like, it's just, it's awesome.
You're also talking about the number of characters and not being able to remember their names. That's one of the things I like. Whenever Bakugo has this moment of just like yelling out the first thing that comes to his mind, it's like, I get it. I would totally just call that dude Tape Arms because I still don't remember his name, and I've been watching this for like 2 hours a day for the last few weeks.
Yeah. Out of my way, Icy Hot.
What are you talking about, Baldy? I have hair. 3 times he calls him Baldy, and he has to show that he has hair every time. Oh man, just I need to put together the names that Tony Stark has given the Avengers and Bakugo to his classmates and just have a ranking of who has a better list. Because man, do both of them crack me up.
Can we also just throw a Nosuke in the mix for all of his mispronunciations?
Oh, yeah,
just really,
for sure.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Really tackle that one on there. Yeah,
that's just poor wording more than like
true
clever wording, I guess. But sure, we love Inosuke enough.
But we've talked a lot about the students. I also need to say the teachers might be the best teachers in anime, and that's a high bar when you have Kakashi Sensei and all of these others out there. Like, the way that they actually care about the students and they logic their way through every problem that they have of starting the dorm unit, and okay, we need to get them their licenses earlier, and we need to do anything we can to keep them in control of what is going on in their lives and not being taken over by villains. There's just so much raw emotion. Like, Aizawa Sensei might be my favorite of like all of the anime father figure teacher men, because he cares in such a way, and there's so many of those scenes where he's watching from the wings and he's stopping others like, wait, they could take care of it themselves. I trust my children. Like, it's so I love him so much. But they're all great. Like, he is the star, but even everyone down to microphone that I can't remember the full
Present
Mike.
Present
Mike, thank you. Yeah, even Present Mike cares about them and shows that emotion, and he's meant to be the comedic announcer guy. Like, it's also even those side and background characters being that level of amazing.
I'm actually plotting my Aizawa Halloween costume.
Hey,
Nice.
I have the long hair. He's my cosplay. I said this one a while
Did you
ago.
call dibs before now?
I didn't for Halloween, but I said I was getting it ready for a convention in the fall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about the teachers, we've talked about the students. We haven't really talked about the villains. But that's another thing, especially with season 5. You mentioned like season 5 being a little bit on the slower side, which I totally agree. But that last segment there where they actually changed like the title sequence to say My Villain Academia and to finally get like this solid backstory for Tomoro Shigaraki. And as much as, Izuku Midoriya is like this altruistic, perfect candidate to inherit All Might's power and to do good with it, it's just so satisfying to have his polar opposite on the other side and to see this despicable character that you can actually, really feel for and understand why he took the path that he did, and to see that he found a father figure in All for One. And did I say that right? One for all, all for one.
Yep.
Okay,
I always think like he's the selfish one, so
Yes.
it's all for one. He wants everything to himself, and one for all is like
Right.
giving to the people.
Correct. Yes. Okay. But anyway, the fact that he found a father figure in him and is trying to live up to his ideals and find that acceptance there. It's just totally relatable and totally understandable, even though you still don't like him. It's the fact that you could even root for him in that arc, like, just goes to speak to the character development again.
Yeah, that whole stuff about where the hands came from.
Oh my God.
I was not okay for a while. That whole story and just sitting there. And now that I'm doing my rewatch, like when he first invaded UA and the first hand got knocked out of his face, he kept going, Father,
Oh yeah.
father, and I was like, oh, now I really get what he meant by that. That's actually his dad's hand on the floor right now.
Wow.
And that was supposed to be like the comforting part that his family's still holding him. Like, oh, the writing on this is so good, but man, does it give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. I want to ask a question. Like, what has been your favorite arc so far? Because there's been so many good ones, but I think it's always kind of the one when I think about when I was really, really kind of at the height of, and I've enjoyed the show all the way through, but when it was kind of like I found myself binging the most episodes in a row, it was back in season 2, the like sports tournament arc.
Okay.
Like that was really cool for me. I really enjoyed that whole segment, just learning more about Todoroki and his relationship with his father, and just seeing characters that you thought you would see win easily kind of get taken out, or just the really heated battles that we saw there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, because we got to see a lot of. Well, this is the first time we got to see a lot of Class B as well, and
True.
the I haven't finished my rewatch of 5 yet, but the arc that I'm on is when they face off again in season 5, and that progression, and but also the friendships that they've made out of that. Like, we don't get to see it as often, but it is cool to see the progression of it, like with Kirishima and the Steel guy.
Tetsu.
Yes, thank you. I knew it was something 4 times, but I couldn't remember what it was. Like their bond, but they're like rivalry at the same time. Like, just understanding those relationships like over 2-3 seasons was really cool. My favorite arc and my favorite moment are separate, but my favorite arc is when they're at the camp and they get invaded.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because like it started off as you have they're set up in pairs and they have to navigate through the dark, and like it's the other classmates' team to like scare them and throw them off and stuff like that. So for actual villains to pop up in that environment, like it was one thing for it to happen the first time when villains came up and you're intrigued and everyone's learning the powers, but now they're like really thrown off guard. They're in an unsafe environment. They can't communicate with each other. You have an understanding of what the villains are capable of, like when Dabi just comes up and blasts the hell out of Aizawa, and they don't have their suits and everything, so they're limited to how much they can use their powers. That had me like the most uncomfortable. I was like, this is wild.
Yeah, I will say the arena arc came to mind pretty quick because that was one of my early favorites. But
Sure.
I don't understand how this isn't like one of the most talked about scenes in anime is the Rescue Eri arc. That entire like the compound raid, but that final battle against like him evolving into the dragon creature final form, and the animation alone in that final battle is insane. Like, there are some times in the show when you have a trained eye for the animation, you could see that they're stretching their pencil miles and they're trying to draw some things out. That entire scene is just flat out they are animating for the whole episode. Like, it is one of the craziest things that I have seen. But yeah, that arc might be the one that comes to mind, because when you find out that it's like an hour and a half worth of time, that is like the entirety of the 10 episodes, it's just so amazing to see all of these heroes at full power going against full powered villains. And I think that's what we're going to be getting more of in this season, so I'm just more excited to see what's happening. But that might have to be my favorite, is the entire Rescue Eri stuff.
That was better as a weekly for me. Because during my rewatch, I didn't realize how short it was and how quick everything happened. So for me to see Sun Eater be nearly killed and then have to wait a week to find out what happens to Gum and Kirishima, and then live with that trauma for another week before finding out what happens to Lemillion, that was a lot more impactful than when I just like breezed through it. But the following arc with the festival, I was glad that I could just push through that, because that was like, oh my god, why are we dragging this filler stuff right now? So it's interesting, like how much of it I feel like is more impactful on a weekly, and how much of it is more suited for binging. And that's why it's awesome to be able to have to watch it weekly, so you can have that comparison and have that option. Because that's something you can't get back, of like having to sit there for a week. It's like with the Marvel stuff, right? Like you have this movie, and then it's like the end of Ragnarok, for example, the stinger. and then it's like you have to wait like 6 months to find out what happens with this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's a certain intensity to that you just can't get back.
Yeah, I like that call out on that arc too, because it brings something else to mind. Like when I think about this show, like All Might kind of immediately comes to mind, and he is like the quote unquote poster boy or the most like iconic image that you have for this show. And the fact that he's off the table at this point, the fact that All Might can't come to the rescue, and even our main villains up until this point, they kind of like take a back seat. You introduce a brand new villain and overhaul. The fact that the show still works as strongly as it does, and like a lot of other times people would be like, oh, that was the season where it kind of got away from itself, and that is not the case at all. The show continues to be as strong as it ever was. And the mention of Sun Eater, he's one of my favorite characters too. I just, for whatever reason, like the shyness but capability, like I relate to that, and I love that guy. He's just so unsure of himself, but he always does what needs to be done when the time comes. And Mirio, Lemillion, Togato, whatever. Togeda. I love his quirk as well. The fact that we talked about how like some quirks are actually like flaws, and like how his flaw could be such, or his quirks could be such a liability. But the fact that he just works so hard to become the best, even with a quirk that, would have been somebody else's undoing. Like, yeah, just instantly likable. And normally I don't like those super cheery kind of characters that kind of get to me a little bit, but he works. He's so just so true and so good.
So funnily enough, when I was trying to think about how to open this episode, I was trying to figure out which of us is compared to who on the big three.
Oh, okay.
Jeez.
And Scoots, I had you as Lemillion and me as Sun Eater.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'll take it. Hey.
I'll be the pretty one, I guess.
It's her curiosity that fit well with you, Andrew. Like when she walks in and she's like trying to pick apart like each person in the class and like learn everything about them. But like Scoots, you have that personality that when you're talking about somebody, you're like the best version of yourself, and you like you keep all of your like dark to yourself. And that's what I track with like you and Lemillion most of all.
I'll take it. That's a great compliment. He's an excellent character. Yeah, I'll take it. I like the way that shook out. What's that?
I said the big three are awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they
definitely.
are.
Yeah.
And I'm Sun Eater because I'm a fat ass.
But there really are like just no lack of great characters. So I'm trying to think of like who my favorite character is, and I'm really at a loss because there's so many great ones. So I guess there's just better ways to maybe drive the conversation. Like I was trying to think of like, possible scenarios, like if you could pick anyone's quirk, which one would you want to have? Or like another idea that came to mind, if you were attending, the high school and were in this class, like, and you were assigned a group assignment, like which like 3 or 4 classmates would you want to be on your team? Like,
I think Midoriya is an easy one.
Sure. I think Yaoyorozu is a good choice as well.
And Asui?
Okay.
Asui is very perceptive.
True.
Yeah, there is just that interesting thing that you're bringing up of like, okay, build a team. And throughout the show, we see so many different combinations. Like, I love that they don't just keep, all right, we're going to do Bakugo and, all of his crew every single time. Like, no, they mix it up all throughout the show.
Even during, like, when they have to deal with villains.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I can't remember any names because I did not prep well enough for this. So I'm taking Dark Shadow.
Tomioka?
Yeah, Tomioka.
Tokiyami.
Or Tokiyami.
I inverted some of those letters, but you knew what I meant.
Yeah, Tokiyami, brilliant, capable, dependable. Like he said, Midoriya is just easy pick, obviously.
Sure.
And then, Momo. She's got to be the other, like, just has it all together. And if I have to do anything, she can create anything. Like, I love that they made her with an OP quirk, but at no point does she ever really feel super OP. Like, she always has some hurdle to get over in doing what she is doing.
because her dampener is that like she has to eat to be able to produce, and then there's time limits on being able to produce the stuff. So she can't make a whole house because that would literally take her days to do, and she would like run out of nutrients in her body. Like the fact that they explain the science to stuff like this is just
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah. And we talk about like the different pairings and like how these, different students get to interact with each other, like talking about, Yorozo and her capability. But again, with the character development, she has this like uncertainty about herself. So I loved when she got paired with Todoroki to take down Aizawa, and he was able to give her the pep talk that she needed. And he told her, the reason you're class president is because I voted for you. Remember how you had more than one vote when everybody was voting for themselves? Like, I voted for you. And he's one of those characters that kind of comes across as OP sometimes, but even with his own hangups, he's not infallible. So I really enjoyed that moment.
Yeah, Todoroki's growth. I think he has possibly the best growth throughout the show, without a doubt. Like, it's just so understandably well written, and at no point does it really like flip a switch. Like, so many shows just are like, oh, he forgives his dad now. It's like, no, there is trauma here. We have to work through this over the course of a lot of time and a lot of effort, and we still don't know all of the details of his family situation, which is just more questions and more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the more recent things I just rewatched too, is where Todoroki's brother walks out after. I can't believe I forgot about this fight between Endeavor and the Nomu. Like,
oh right,
that blew me away. But when his brother like walks out on him, and he was like, "I don't forgive you for anything, but if you want to be a father now, and you want to be the number one hero now, show me. I don't want your words anymore." And that level of dialogue and progression, and seeing how like involved his sister is, and like trying to get the family together, and how like even his mom is like thinking that there's hope for Endeavor. Seeing that whole family dynamic it's beautiful. It's very sad, but so beautifully done.
Yeah, but I also love that Endeavor's still having to work through it. That again, it wasn't a immediate, okay, I'm going to change everything. Like, he had to build these bridges back up. It's just, it's the best bad family dynamic I think I've ever seen.
Dude, when Todoroki says like, "Oh man, that scar looks like it hurt really bad," and he like closes up on his scar, I'm like,
yeah.
I know it's wrong, but I'm just thinking about the food in that family scene, and now I'm hungry.
The udon?
The udon, and I know he loves takoyaki, and I love takoyaki, and I just, now
we got a hurricane rolling through right now, so now it's like raining and dark and chilly, and I've been wanting ramen since it started yesterday. Good lord.
Yeah. Sounds like good pho weather.
Yes. I've been so ready for it, and I can like enjoy coffee now. I got a pumpkin pie one from Wegmans the other day. Ooh, it's good.
Okay. Fall has truly come if it's pumpkin spice season.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
Halloween. Sorry.
All good. I'll allow it. One of the things about the show that kind of surprises me, given the like age group that we're working with, and you look at other. For whatever reason, I want to make the comparison to like Harry Potter, just like seeing a group of like, gifted kids like progress through their matriculation. And there's obviously been kind of this romance on Uraraku's part towards Midoriya, but it's never made much ground because Midoriya is just so kind of clueless and, so innocent. But I'm kind of surprised that there haven't really been any romances between any of the like classmates. I it's not a criticism. It's just, I guess, kind of a note of surprise given the age group that we're working with.
Ship.
Yeah, no, you have some little like teases that I definitely get excited for. I'm like, we might have a romance coming, and like that's unusual. It feels like usually it's forced on you, and you're like, okay, a romance. Whereas there has been, and I'm just gonna start throwing names out because I'm so bad at this. Headphone Jack and Electric Guy.
Jiro and Kaminari.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There we go.
The way she bullies him is so cute.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's fair. Yeah,
but it's never forced. It's just like, hey, maybe want to show me how to play guitar sometime? That's really cool. And you you eat into it, but they never do anything beyond that. It's just like, no,
Okay.
no,
And she's
give me more
always just like
ground.
laughing hysterically whenever he goes to his dummy stage.
Yes. I'm right there with her, though. It's so great.
Like when they were trying to cheer the group up and Bakugo just like, "Hey, get over here! Charge, go stupid!" Jiro just loses it.
I gotta say, I love the girl group,
Momo
though.
and Todoroki is another one too.
What was it?
Momo and Todoroki.
Okay. Not sure if I picked up on that one as much. I mentioned the moment they had together where he encouraged her, but there might be something there.
They're both from like a wealthy, high-class family. They're big
True.
cultural people. Like they're very respectful and just kind of like the vibe that they have together. It's just
Okay.
Yeah, but like I was starting to say, I love the girl group, that they stick together, that they're all friends, that they gossip a little bit every time it seems like Uraraka is trying to make ground. They're like, "Wait, you like him? Oh my gosh!" And it feels natural.
Out. She's like,
no. It's so great.
So much.
Yeah.
Oh, Kirishima and Ashido were the other ones because they like went to middle school together too.
Okay.
Oh
okay.
yeah, that's the like obvious one that definitely feels like it will go somewhere at some point. I forgot about that.
Bonkers one for you.
What you got?
Asui and Mineta.
Oh no.
Because she's always the one like trying to get him like out, like the way that Kendo is with Monoma from Class B.
Oh right, okay.
He's always trying to calm down. I feel like that's Asui with Mineta. I don't like it by any means. But if one was going to spark, I could see that being it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see Mineta ending up with anybody just because of the way he is.
God, the unnecessary fan service. Like, he's on the cover of that book of most unnecessary fan service in anime. This show's amazing. On all rounds. The comedy, the storytelling, the action. Just, it's so perfect. Except for unnecessary fan service.
I don't even think it's that bad. Like, when you watch some other shows, like, it's pretty...
Dude, Midnight gets pretty bad sometimes.
Midnight, it's hard, because, like, they write the characters in such a way that it's, like, they're okay with it, but it's not just straight up, like, that the guy is, like, asking direct... It's weird at times. Like, it's fan servicey, but it could be worse, so I'm always like, it's fine.
I guess the part that kind of like makes it not seem super distasteful is like she's almost like kind of wielding it and owning it rather than her being, you know, objectified by others. It's like she's really embraced her sexuality and almost wields it as a power. Yeah.
They had that interview too where it was like Mount Lady and Midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just like, yeah, you know, I just, you know, some of us just dress more practical because we're confident in our hero abilities. And she was like, well, because of my quirk, like I have to do this. Because the first time that like Momo's suit came out too, they were like, why do you have to dress her like that? And they were just like, this is her power. This is exactly why she needs a suit like this. So the weapons and whatever she makes has space to come out. I was like, interesting, fascinating.
Yeah, because when you talk about it being unnecessary, I would expect them not to explain as many things like that, and like to have made more than just the one joke about Invisible Girl being naked. Like they made the joke once and then they left it. They never touched it again, that she's always running around with just gloves on. So it's like, oh, okay, this is just what she has to do. Like, and I think it was worse in the early seasons and like slowly got better as well, if I remember correctly.
Which Fire Force needs to take a page out of that book. But especially now that it's like winter time in season 5, and she was like, "Aren't you cold?" It's like, I am freezing. Oh, where? Oh my god, what was the girl's name from Incredibles?
Elastigirl?
Edna?
Oh, Edna. Yeah.
Yeah.
Edna mode.
They need to make Elastic or Violet's suit for Hagakure.
Honestly,
for her.
We need to bring back one of my favorite side characters. The engineer girl is so much fun. She's so bubbly. Like, have her design her a thermal see-through outfit. Like, Just
Dude,
give us a whole
Uraraka's so
kit
jealous of
overhaul.
her all the time. It's like that's what I was laughing when you brought up Uraraka, because one of the things was Deku was talking about all the stuff that she made for him,
Mhm.
and she thought about that and got jealous, just punches her in the face. She's like, "Bad thoughts." Like, why am I feeling this way? And like some people saw, they're like, "Uraraka, what are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
I love her so much. She's so perfect.
Yeah, she is. She's great.
I feel like it's a testament to the show because I came on like, okay, we're gonna riff for like 20 minutes, talk about the things we like, and like that'll be that. And that's why I didn't prep everyone's names. And now it's
Yeah.
45 minutes into our recording.
So much
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
It's
And
just like amazing.
yeah, at some point I feel like we should kind of like we don't have to go crazy with speculation or predictions, but I do think we should talk about, expectations for season 6. But I'm still like there's so many things that like I want to bring up, but I just don't know how to like transition naturally. Like Tenya Ida with his arm movements. Like I love that recurring joke, how he's so stiff and just like everyone
When he was
starts to notice.
performing at the festival.
Yes. And then like just like thinking about Uraraka and like her hero studies and whatnot, like working with Selkie. Like Selkie's this like gruff, serious, badass dude, but he's like, I'm so cute.
Let's run through the jail again.
Yeah.
Gunhead martial arts.
But we've talked about how so many like we get so much time with so many of the great characters, but there are like some characters that are really like relegated to like background roles, which is with that number of characters, it's not a bad thing. But I do find myself like I love them all so much that I want to learn more about them. Like I'm not going to remember the Hagakure, is it the Invisible Girl?
Hagakure.
Hagakure. I'd like to learn more about her.
Yeah.
I think his name is. I'm not gonna. I don't remember his name, but the guy that basically he's like Spider-Man with tape dispensing.
Yeah.
I'd like for him to get like a little bit of an arc sometime.
Mm-hmm.
You got
He
like
had
Sugar.
a little bit during the provisional license, like when
Oh, okay.
like working with Deku, like you got to see him work with everybody and talk more and kind of show like his value and use and everything.
Okay.
But I agree, we haven't had like too much like background on him yet.
Yeah, like Sugar Rush and Anima.
The guy
with
with the wings, he is like my favorite one. Yeah, the one with all the arms. I want to learn more about him. He's my top background guy.
Yeah, he's cool. He is cool. He's got a cool power. And then even on the villain side, like Spinner, he's just like a lizard that's good with weapons, but I don't think we know anything else about him. He's cool.
You can't tell me he's not a Ninja Turtle. He is a Ninja Turtle. They took Splinter and just put his name onto a Ninja Turtle. That's all that it is. He's Spinner. Ooh.
The L is the sword.
There we go. Yeah.
So much good. I mean, you mentioned that and it reminded me of Stain.
Oh,
and it's just fascinating, like how much is like ramifications to every action that happened. Like Stain's whole thing influenced people to join the League of Villains, and because of that, you go into dorm rooms, and then because of All Might, you have like criminal organizations rising up. So how do you counter that? How do you prepare for that? It's stuff they've already thought about and knew that was going to come up eventually. Like the domino effect of everything that's happened since season 1. Incredible writing. I can't say it enough.
Yeah, like so many shows feel like it's just like, okay, we have to get to the next villain arc. They're here now. Whereas there's so much of that, just like, again, like you said, foreshadowing of, the hand being his dad's hand. Like, why did they think of that to then come up all this time later? So yeah, it's too good. And the like duplicate man that we just found out about from the villain side, I loved that they had that in their back pocket for so long.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah. That was so cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
He split himself so many times that no one could remember which was the real one, and the personality started to merge. Like,
right.
Oh,
yeah.
The original Mr. Meeseeks.
I just want to die.
Well done. Well done.
Oh, man. This show's so good. Have you guys watched any of the movies?
Well, we covered World Heroes Mission on this show once upon a time, so I did see that one in theaters, but that's actually the only one I've seen.
Yeah, because I've been watching everything on Crunchyroll. I don't believe Crunchyroll has any of the movies, so I have been nil for that.
Yeah, how's that $10 a month going for you now?
It's going fantastic.
I feel like each one of those, I don't want to say worse. Each one of those movies wasn't as good as the last. The first one was just so well done. And it was interesting because they made that movie in a way where it's like, it's not canon, but it could be. And when they were prepping for the provisional licenses, I think it was, they dropped at the end of the episode where it's like, hey, Midori, I know we're doing stuff, but like, I'm going to go meet my old sidekick. Do you want to come with me?
Right.
And that was like something that wasn't in the manga that they plugged that in to promote the movie.
Is that
And
why? Oh, this whole
Yeah.
time I've been like, why didn't we find that out? What's that?
Yeah, that led into the movie because stuff happens in the second and third movie that like totally makes it uncanon, where it's like, yeah, no, that doesn't fit in at all. But the first movie fits in so nicely. And fun fact, it is the only time that you ever see Midoriya and All Might fight together.
Oh, wow.
The only time ever
tracks.
is in that movie. But it was really well done. Like, they go to this island for the science expo, and then of course villains take over, and the way that they had to deal with everything and the action and the story, and they found a way to tie it with everything that was going on. Highly recommend you guys watch that and let me know what you think. It's if you need something to do this weekend.
Sounds
add
good.
that to your
Sounds good.
list. So good.
It makes me think that I had watched World Heroes Mission before I watched season 5. So like while I was watching season 5, I saw the little breadcrumbs here and there that fed into that movie. That like without that context, I would have been like, where did that thread go?
It's interesting you say that because I think it happened with the second movie too, that it came out before its respective season was done. So it was showing things that hadn't been shown in the anime yet. So like Endeavor and Dobby face off at the beginning of one of them. I think it was the second one. And nobody known that they had met before and fought before, which was like the end of season 4. And then there was another one where he had the Air Force gauntlets and was just going in like shooting them, and we're just like, where the hell did that come from?
Right.
And then you see it like happen because those movies came out while the anime was still rolling, so it's like the manga fans got it, but the anime ones were like, what? So they were like minor spoilers, but it was still enough to make people go, what is going on here? So yeah, you weren't at a loss. Everybody was.
Okay. Well, it's good to know what Black Whip is now for sure.
Yeah,
because he was just
wait. That happened in the movies first.
Yeah, he was just like swinging around with Black Whip, and I'm just like, what is this?
That was such a great arc to find out about that. I could only imagine like knowing that that's so bizarre.
I can't wait to find out about more of the. Was it the vestiges?
Yeah, I think vestiges is the word they use.
Yeah. His predecessors with the stacking power.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting because we only have one. There's so many more. And how is he gonna explain that to everybody? It's like, I don't know what's going on with my quirk. I was quirkless for 14 years, and now I have super strength and the shooting ability and whips. And
yeah, that seems like a good transition. I think like thinking about season 6, it's probably more than likely that we'll learn at least about one more of the vestiges and probably get a new power. It seems like based on like the final like couple of seconds of season 5, as I recall, I got the feeling that like this could be the first season where we don't spend any time at the high school at all. Like it's just full on students having to step up to be heroes. To make the Harry Potter comparison again, it might be like the Order of the Phoenix for you Potterheads out there, where they step away from Hogwarts and into the Wizarding War. But what you brought up about Midoriya's past and like going until 14 without a power also makes me think of his father. Like we don't know anything about his father. We know his father's still alive, I think, based on something his mom said. But other than that, there's been like no inclination as to who his father is or what his story is.
I can't
So-
remember. I think I might be getting it confused with an early episode of Pokemon, but it's something along the lines of like he's talking to his mom, and his mom says, "Oh, your father will be so proud to hear about this," and like that's all we get.
It
Yeah.
was in the first episode when they were in the hospital and the doctor was asking like, "What are y'all's quirks like?"
Oh,
She was
right.
like, "I can make small things float, and his dad can do this." I can't remember what it was, and
Mm,
that was like the only indication you got.
right.
Okay.
So it wasn't like his father could do this; it's like his father can do this, and
Yeah. There's no indication we're going to get any clarity on that anytime soon, but it's something that could happen, and I guess wouldn't necessarily surprise me. We'll see.
his dad is one of Twice's clones.
Yeah, it definitely
Can you
doesn't.
imagine? Can you imagine being like, "I'm your father"? No, I'm not.
Yeah, it at least doesn't feel like they're gonna shoehorn in like a dad is one of the villains we already know. Like he could be introduced later, but they've done a good enough job of setting up the rest of these villains that it's not gonna be like all for one's his dad. Like that's not gonna happen.
Obi-Wan never told you the truth about your father, did he?
We're all your father.
Yeah. Well, I for one, not all for one, I for one, believe that this has been a really fun conversation, but it feels like it's winding down. So I'll open up the floor. If we have any final thoughts, anything you just have to get out there about My Hero Academia. Otherwise, we can transition to what else we have going on.
It's so good. In case I didn't say that yet. Yeah, definitely. If you guys want to share your excitement too, please send us a voice memo, send us a message. If you're watching every week and want to get excited with us, we would love it. We just ask that you avoid manga spoilers. Definitely don't want to ruin our experience with it, so please be mindful of that. And any other anime you guys are watching or keeping up with on a weekly basis, let us know, because this podcast exists because we are nerds that love to talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I love it. We didn't even really get into season 6 speculation, but like there's so many threads that I want to pull on, but I don't even know where they're going to lead, so I'm just excited. Like there's no other word for it besides when are these things going to pay off and how, and then what are the things they introduce. So like it's just it's amazing. It's the best. I'm so excited. You could probably hear it in the jab dibs in my voice that I don't usually do.
I'm calling right now. First episode is going to be a full recap episode. I totally forgot that season 5 started with the journalist who was like in the dorms for a day and had the cameras all over his body. They're going to find some way to just have like a whole recap episode.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much that they either have to do a recap or there is zero recap and it's all flashbacks throughout the season to remind us. Like it's one extreme or the next. They either have to explain it all or don't explain anything.
Ooh. I that kind of spurred a thought into me. My prediction is going to be it's just going to be a straight up flashback to the meta Liberation War, seeing as like this is kind of like the continuation of that in a lot of ways, with like, you know, Redestro and his father having fought the first war, even though Redestro has been relegated to a lieutenant role, as I recall.
Yeah, I think it's just the crazy part that like we don't know what the bad guy's plan is. It's just time, day, location. Everyone is going to be here. So now it's just finding out what that is. So I don't even know how they approach that situation.
Yeah, very true. Could go anywhere, but we know it's going to be of a certain level of quality because if you haven't gathered yet, we all are over the moon about this show. It is beyond plus ultra. It is wonderful.
I was like, it was on my tongue. I was like, say it or I'll throw it in there.
had to. Young Midoriya. I had to do an All Might impression.
Young Midoriya.
Yeah. I agree with what Zuhair brought up. If you have any feedback for us, please send it to animationdeliberationpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us your thoughts about this anime or other animes that are happening. As I mentioned, Cyberpunk Edge Runners is out there. Let me know what you're thinking about that. And wherever you are listening to us, if you could be so kind to share the show and leave us a review. Let us know if you are enjoying what we're doing. That would be very helpful. And I guess that's going to do it for us this week. My name's J Scotty St. Clair, and thank you for tuning in. That's TOONIN.
B plus ultra and stay whelmed.
And go beyond muscle.
Thank you for listening to the Animation Deliberation Podcast, a proud member of the Stranded Panda Network. If you would like to contact us, you can email animationdeliberationpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter @animationdelib1. For this and other great shows, you can visit strandedpanda.com or join the great community that is the Stranded Panda Chat Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/spchat. Tune in next time, and remember, stay whelmed.